We will hold that open for absent members. I did see that Assembly-Member Haney is here, so let's just expedite that so that everyone that's here can vote on everything together. Welcome, Assembly-Member Haney. Yes, can I invite your supporters to join me up front? And the opposition has the same right to join us up front to state your opposition. And you'll have, we'll make sure that everyone has a chance to join us. And when you're ready, you may begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I'm proud to present AB 2017, the California Eid State Holiday Act, which recognizes Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha as state holidays in California. California is home to one of the largest Muslim populations in the country, yet our state calendar does not reflect these deeply significant observances. Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha are among the holiest days in Islam, marked by prayer, reflection, charity, and community, and are observed by over 1.9 billion Muslims worldwide. Despite this, Muslim students across California are often forced to choose between attending school and fully observing their holidays. Even when absences are excused, students miss instructional time and can feel isolated from their peers. Employees face the same burden when their workplaces do not formally recognize Eid. California prides itself on being one of the most diverse and inclusive states in the nation, but our laws have not yet caught up. Other jurisdictions, including Washington State, New York City, and several major school districts, have already taken steps to formally recognize Eid. AB 2017 will bring California in line with these efforts by adding Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha to the state holiday calendar while maintaining flexibility for courts and other local educational agencies. This approach mirrors how California recognizes observances such as Lunar New Year and Diwali, and this bill comes at a particularly important moment. Across our country, we are seeing rising hate, division, and misunderstanding directed at many communities, including Muslim Americans. Just a few weeks ago, we saw a horrifying act of violence in San Diego that has deeply shaken many in our communities and reminded us that hate and extremism still exist in many ways. One of the most powerful ways we can combat bigotry is through education, recognition, and inclusion, ensuring that when children grow up, they will respect each other's traditions and holidays and grow up understanding that our diversity is something to celebrate, not fear. Here to testify with me today is Khadija Alam, Executive Director of the California Commission on Asian and Pacific Islander American Affairs, and Leticia Preza, a teacher at San Francisco Islamic School.
Welcome. You're both going to have 2 minutes each to present. So you may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Good morning. My name is Khadija Alam, and I proudly serve as the Executive Director of the California Commission on Asian and Pacific Islander American Affairs. California is home to over 7 million Anapi Californians. Our commission was created to advise state leaders on issues affecting Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities, and to help ensure community voices are reflected in public policy. Every day, our work brings us into conversation with students, families, nonprofit organizations, and community members and leaders throughout California. As a proud co-sponsor, I'm here today in strong support of AB 2017. I want to thank Assemblymember Haney and Senator Aisha Wahab for their leadership in advancing this important measure. At the Commission, we talk about our responsibility to serve as a bridge between communities and government. One of the most important things we can do in that role is to help ensure that California's institutions reflect the people they serve. AB 2017 does exactly that. For Muslim Californians, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha are among the most important days of the year. They are moments centered in culture, traditions, service, and community. Yet for many Californians, these observances continue to require special accommodations simply because they are not formally recognized in the same way as other significant holidays. For many families across California, including my own, this issue is deeply personal. California is home to more than 1 million Muslim Americans who contribute to our sector of our state as educators, healthcare professionals, public servants, business owners, students, and community leaders. Yet many Muslim families still feel that the most important days of their year are not formally recognized. Growing up, celebrating Eid often meant missing school and navigating a system that did not recognize a day that held deep significance for my family. My parents would have to explain my absence, and there was always an underlying feeling that our traditions existed outside the norm. Many Muslim students and families continue to have that experience today. As a parent, I think about what this recognition could mean for my children and many across the state. Across our state, students learn about important traditions such as Lunar New Year and Diwali, helping them understand the cultures and communities around them. I look forward to a day.
To wrap it up.
Yes. I look forward to a day when Muslim children can share their holiday Eid traditions with their classmates in that same spirit of understanding, visibility, and belonging. We ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. You're going to have less than 2 minutes, so let's see if we can streamline the comments. Thank you.
Is this on? Oh, there we go. Okay. My name is Leticia Presa. Thank you. I am a lifelong San Francisco resident, a Latina convert to Islam, and a mother of children who attend schools in San Francisco. Growing up Catholic, I always look forward to Christmas vacation. Even now, when I think back on those years, I remember more than just a holiday. I remember the feeling of being carefree, of waking up and hearing Christmas carols on our record player, no worries of schedules, and gathering with family, sharing tamales made with love, and creating memories that became a part of who I am today. Those moments taught me the importance of family and belonging and tradition. Today, as a mother, I want my children to experience the same sense of joy and connection during Eid. I want them to wake up excited, put on their new clothes, and share meals, exchange gifts, even with our wonderful neighbors, and fully immerse themselves in the celebration. I want their memories of Eid to be filled with warmth and family and community, not the concerns about missed assignments or tests and attendance records. When children are given the space to fully celebrate their most meaningful holidays, they gain something invaluable, memories that anchor them to faith and community. Furthermore, families are strongest when they have opportunities to gather together and pass traditions from one generation to the next. Official recognition of Eid would help make that possible for many Muslims. I ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And now I would invite the opposition. I'll give you a little bit more time as well. You may begin.
All right. Chair and members, my name is Greg Burt with the California Family Council, and we're opposing AB 2017. California law already lets any student be excused for any religious holiday at a parent's request. That framework is neutral. It protects faith equally and asks the state to play no favorites, and we support it. AB 2017 abandons that approach. It writes two specific Islamic holidays into state statute by name and authorizes the State Board of Education to adopt curriculum guides for school exercises, and I quote, acknowledging and celebrating these observances. That crosses the constitutional line. There is a difference between excluding a child's absence and commissioning the state to celebrate a religion's holidays. Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha are explicitly theological, tied to two of the 5 pillars of Islam. Funding schools to celebrate their religious meaning is not objective education, it is religious celebration. Even Los Angeles Unified Guidance states, and I quote, teachers must be alert to the distinction between teaching about religious holidays, which is permissible, and celebrating religious holidays, which is not. We have seen this template before. Last October, the state made Diwali an official state holiday using the same exact language. Meanwhile, no California statute has ever authorized public schools to hold exercises celebrating the meaning and importance of Jesus' birth or resurrection. Here's the deeper problem. The author's rationale is that Eid deserves recognition because the legislature already recognized Diwali. That reasoning has no stopping point. If naming holidays in statute is a standard, the queue also includes holidays from Christianity, Judaism, Taoism, Sikhism, Jehovah's Witnesses, and many more. The state cannot celebrate them all, So they will be choosing winners and losers among faiths. That is precisely what the Constitution forbids. We urge you to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. I would now like to invite anyone wishing to speak in support of this bill to come up to the microphone. State your name, your affiliation, and your position. Thank you.
Hello, Chair, members. Sam Nash on behalf of the Los Angeles County Office of Education and Support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. Cameron Desai with the California Immigrant Policy Center in strong support. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Fozia Farouk with the Council of American Islamic Relations in strong support. Thank you.
Good morning, Kashif Abdullah, school principal, U.S. Navy veteran, board member for San Francisco Interfaith Council, standing in support of the bill.
Good afternoon. My name is Arya Shergill, and I'm a student at UC Berkeley, and I'm in strong support of AB 2017. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Malia Santos. I'm a student at UC Davis, and I'm in strong support of the bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ukarsh Dubey, and I'm a student at UC Berkeley, and I vote in strong support of this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair. Hala Hijazi, longtime 25-year public servant on behalf of the Muslim Impact Council, a sponsor, as well as the Interfaith Center at the Presidio. We please ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to invite anyone wishing to speak against this bill in opposition. Please join us up front. Once again, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing no interest, I will bring it back to the dais. Anyone wishing to speak on it? Senator Wahab.
Thank you. First, I just want to thank Assemblymember Haney for bringing this forward. You know, we've had a lot of conversations regarding recognizing some type of effort to ensure that the Muslim community actually feels seen and heard. You know, it's interesting because I'm the only Muslim that serves in the state legislature, and, you know, I've often said to a lot of people I'm not religious, but at the same time, you know, we are depicted in a very negative light. You know, Assemblymember Haney and I were tagged in a post on the announcement of this bill, okay? And I think for 4 months straight, vile comment after 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 vile comment. There is a deep sense of Islamophobia in this nation. There is a deep sense of hatred and a deep sense of tolerance to Islamophobia. And I have often said in this building alone, it seems completely permissible for somebody to speak negatively about Muslim people without another person even questioning it. Okay? I have heard comments from colleagues that are just purely on ignorance. I have heard comments from other individuals, and it's deeply disappointing to see that. And again, I have said very clearly, and I've said it to some of the witnesses here, I'm not a religious person, but I do believe in respect for all people. And, you know, we have seen some of the bills that have come in the past, and we have kind of, even I had a bill, I think in my first year, that said that, you know, there can be a floating holiday that state workers can celebrate Holi, celebrate Eid, celebrate whatever they want if they so choose, because we do know that we represent diverse communities with diverse backgrounds. And yet, you know, some of the commentary that we've heard in opposition to this bill is not realistic. As a kid, born and raised, growing up in this country, every single year we have spent time in classes coloring Christmas trees and, you know, singing some of the songs, and even music class, and so much more. The TV, the media, everything. And I do believe in a separation of church and state. I'm a firm believer of that. And I think that this is literally just, again, allowing for families to take a little bit of time off in the privacy of their own home to be able to celebrate the holiday that is meaningful to them. I will say Eid is a little difficult to legislate around because it's a revolving holiday, right? You have to look at the moon and the whole nine. And so I just think that this is the right thing to do in the sense that Again, we are allowing for one of the fastest growing demographics in the state to at least celebrate a holiday that's meaningful to them. I will also highlight the fastest growing Muslim demographic is the Latino community. So I appreciate your testimony here, and I will respectfully ask to move this when appropriate.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Senator Trouble.
Thank you. First of all, there isn't any room for hate, and I'm sorry that you've experienced that with your colleagues in the legislature. I'm actually really, really shocked to hear that, because just in my space, I've never heard of anti-Muslim sentiments. Just FYI, and maybe, I don't know why, but I have not heard any of it. And you know how much I absolutely respect you and love you. But I need some clarification on here, because one of the concerns that I've had, and I've expressed them in previous bill attempts for other religious holidays for other folks, and that's the sense that when you try to research how many religions we have in the U.S., in the world, we have over 4,000 religions just worldwide, and to accommodate every single one that comes before us would be incredibly difficult to do. And I was trying to figure out how do we forego the highlighting of every single religious holiday, and then with just actually including it all under the bill that was actually carried by my dear colleague Wahab, SB 461, where it allows state employees to exchange their annual personal holiday for a holiday credit to observe a holiday or ceremony of their religion, culture, and heritage contingent on their union engaging in collective bargaining. So what does your bill do that we can't already do within this particular bill? Because in essence, what I'm looking at is right now our schools are not supposed to be celebrating. They're supposed to celebrate winter holiday, right? It's not supposed to be a religious holiday anymore. It's not supposed to be referred to as Christmas or even Easter. It's supposed to be spring break or spring holiday. So we've taken that out as far as the Christianity part of it. But wouldn't it be best if we just had something that is neutral that says, hey, you can take, and obviously as we said, 461 by Senator Wahab already does that, allows you to take that annual personal holiday celebrating your own faith, whatever that may be, rather than itemizing every single faith, which in reality we have over 4,000 worldwide. And in a country like ours, and a state like ours that is so diversified, we're going to see bills sporadically, throughout every single year of, coming in and adding another itemized religion or not religious holiday. So why don't we have something that it just gets rid of that and just leaves it open for, which we already have. It seems, I don't say redundant, but it seems that it's not actually needed. It seems like we can actually forego that system and then just create a neutral personal holiday religious time on there. So what does your bill do that we can't already do in this particular bill that we have already passed?
Well, a few things, and I appreciate the question and the sentiment, which is that for individuals for whom, and in this case, we're talking about close to 1 million people in our state. These are major holidays that are recognized, holy days that are recognized by 2 billion people around the world. So these are, I think, special in their significance to a very, very large number of people in our state, these particular religious holy days. And currently, under current law, students are not allowed or authorized to be able to have an excused absence to be able to observe this with their families or communities. That is something that this bill would do that is not authorized for them under current law. And we know from the examples given to us from many students around the state that this becomes a huge challenge for them, and they miss instructional time, they're punished for it, they have to make that choice that is not fair to them. And so in this specific case, for this very large number of students, I would authorize that, and is explicit about the ability of employees to be able to use, public employees, existing leave mechanisms such as personal holiday credit, vacation, annual leave, or compensating time off to observe Eid. And it's explicit about that. I think whatever may exist or has been proposed under, that would be broader, does not right now ensure these protections for these many, many thousands of employees either. So it is needed. It also follows the approach that we've already taken as a state. We talked about Diwali. There's Lunar New Year, other types of cultural days of observance as well. Native American Day, Genocide Remembrance Day, Juneteenth. So we do this as a state. It's something that I think is overdue for a very, very large number of students and employees in our state who are currently unprotected, and because also of some of the Islamophobia that exists, the recognition is actually, in some cases, denied explicitly to them or misunderstood, and the opportunity to not only protect these students and employees, but also help to increase the awareness of these Muslim holy days and the students and employees who observe them and the traditions associated with them, I think will help to address some of the Islamophobia that the Senator spoke about. So this bill does a number of things that are not protected currently under state law, and reflects an approach that we've taken with a number of other both holy days and observances.
Okay. Madam Chair, I believe Senator Maha might have some insight into able to answer my question as well.
Absolutely. You may proceed, Senator Wahab.
Thank you, Chair. First and foremost, I do want to say that the bill that I introduced, it was in my first year. It was to cover kind of, in my opinion, as many cultures and celebrations as possible. I have a very diverse district. It's roughly 55% Asian. I could not pick a holiday to, support one community over another. That was the goal of that bill. And it was largely for adults to be able to take time off, not be an impact necessarily to anything. This is a little bit different, and I want to highlight this. Mine was specifically for state workers and state employees in the essence of laying the foundation for something like this. As the only and the first Muslim in the building, it was an effort to kind of highlight that there are other cultures, and I've said this before, this building typically focuses on the mainstream cultures, Black, white, Latino. And the amount of communities and cultures that are in my district are very hard to kind of uplift when they're smaller communities, but just as important in my opinion. So this particular bill at least allows for parents to understand that if they have a child in schools, both in K through 12 and community colleges and so forth, they are able to say, hey, this is an important holiday. This is where you come from. This is your culture. We're going to take the day off and go celebrate the way it's supposed to be celebrated, versus being penalized and having to write a sick note for their kid saying that, hey, they're sick, and not being able to even say that it's a religious holiday. And I think that was part of the testimony there. I will also highlight that, again, we are trying to really recognize the community members that are impacted, and young kids, especially when they are surrounded by media that is not of their language, of their culture, and things like that, just to understand that, hey, you should have some pride in your culture too, and that's taught to you, right? And so young girls who also wear the hijab, they are ridiculously bullied, right? They are harassed and bothered and so much more, and yet they are just practicing their religion. And so this bill allows them to say, hey, I have a holiday that I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to buy brand new clothes, go and do a prayer. And just like we see in during Hanukkah, where we highlight the fact that we're going to light the menorah and play the dreidel and do the whole nine, as well as Christmas with the Christmas gifts and the carols and singing. This is just a step to, again, recognize a very large community that has been silenced since 9/11 and beyond. And again, in this building, I appreciate your reference, and I've never felt that from you, but, even our resolution on human rights has been held, right? We talk about human rights in every single community, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's children in this country, that country, whatever, and it's held, right? So 100%, we have a long way to go, and this bill is just one step in the right direction. So, you know, I think that that kind of explains a little bit of why the importance of this bill is needed.
So, Madam Chair, through the chair, so once again, I understand, I completely understand, and it's interesting because, first of all, if any school were to prohibit anybody to be able to take the time off and celebrate their own faith based on personal religion, I think that school should be absolutely sued for violating the constitutional rights for those individuals. But all of this conversation has just made me think a little even further, because I did have concerns about, you know, when I'm looking at every religion that we have, over 4,000 recognized religions in the world. And we do, especially, once again, coming back to California, such a diverse state, it's going to make it very incredibly difficult to just highlight every single one in them. But I'm not going to support the bill today, and this is why I'm not going to support the bill today. Because I think we have a larger issue that we need to recognize for all faiths and religions that we currently have that our students would bring into the classroom, not just in this case the Muslim religion, but also with every other one that feel underrepresented. And it would be my actually honor to work with Senator Wahab on a similar bill that she did as SB 461 in 23, and do it exclusively for students, and ensuring that every student, regardless of faith, has the ability to take off of school, and making it general rather than specific, and highlighting each one, because we're not going to be able to accommodate every single one. I mean, we could, but it would be very convoluted. But I think what I am going to do, though, I would love to work with you and have the same principle that you did here, that allows any state employee to take time off to celebrate their personal holiday, but do it within the school district, that applies to all faiths, to be able to take that time off and celebrate according to their own cultural expertise. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, you were talking about what you saw growing up in schools, and I'll highlight the fact that now there's been an effort to ensure that, you know, we don't celebrate Christmas. You know, we celebrate the winter or spring. And I think the culture is shifting right now, where they're trying to take religion completely out, or any references of it. And I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm not going to support your bill today, but I am going to work with Senator Wahab in co-authoring. Oh, wait, you might not be here. No, but she might, you know, depending on what happens next year in the fall. But we will be, regardless, we're eternal friends and sisters, and we're going to continue working on that particular. That is my commitment to the Muslim community today, and to every other cultural faith that we have. We're gonna ensure that kids have access to be able to do what they need to do with their own culture, their families, you know, in their homes. So we're going to work on that next year. So with that, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. With that, any other member wishing to speak on this dais? Okay, well, first of all, let's just, I want to acknowledge our colleague, Senator Wahab, who, she knows personally how much I adore and respect her. It's really important when we have people that we normally don't associate with. Earlier we had Mr. Ramos, and he passed several bills on Native American, and we really acknowledge how important his voice is, because he comes from that community, and those bills were really specific to what he was going through in his community and his families. And the same thing, I really appreciate your voice, because no one up here can understand what you're saying personally, but just want you to know how much we care about you and how much we respect you. With that, would you like to close?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the committee. And I also want to thank Senator Wahab, who's a principal co-author of this bill and who's worked on this issue, as we've heard, and has been a close partner on this bill, and also to our witnesses and sponsors and many, many community members who have come out to support this bill. This is pretty simple. We have a very diverse state with close to 1 million Muslim residents. These are their two most holy days. They simply want to have the ability to celebrate them and acknowledge those holy days with their family and community, and not be punished for it, and not have to make that choice that no one in our state should make, and no one in a country that's founded on religious diversity should ever have to make. And we know that for far too many of them, it's happening now. I will say this bill had near, if actually unanimous bipartisan support in both the Assembly committees and on the Assembly floor, and I think it's a very, very strong statement when we stand unified as a legislature in face of the hate and the Islamophobia and the violence that can be associated with it that we see far too often. And with that, Madam Chair, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you so very much. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
This is item 15, AB 2017, due pass to Education Committee. Rubio.
Aye.
Rubio, aye. Valadares. Valadares, aye. Alvarado Gil. Archuleta.
Aye.
Archuleta, aye. Ashby. Ashby, aye. Blakespear. Blakespear, aye. Cervantes. Cervantes, aye. Dally. Hurtado. Hurtado, aye. Ochoa Bogue. Ochoa Bogue, no. Padilla.
Padilla.
Padilla. Padilla, aye. Richardson. Smallwood Cuevas. Smallwood Cuevas, aye. Wahab. Wahab, aye. Weber Pearson. Weber Pearson, aye. That's 11 to 1.
That bill has 11 to 1. That bill is out. We will now move very quickly through all the bills, so members, get ready. We are going to go quite fast. We have to go to caucus, and so I will start with item number 1, AB 1729. I'm sorry, we're going to go with consent calendar. Lifting the calls, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Absent members Alvarado Gil. Ashby. Aye. Ashby, aye. Hurtado. Hurtado, aye. Wahab. Aye. Wahab, aye. That is
14-0. That bill is out. We're moving on to file item 1, AB 1729. Please call the roll.
absent members Valadares.
Can you tell me the vote? No, I know. I want to know.
Item 1, AB 1729. Absent members Valadares.
No, she didn't want. What's the vote?
Got it.
Alvarado Gil. Ashby.
Aye.
Ashby, aye. Hurtado. Hurtado, aye. Padilla. Padilla, aye. Smallwood Cuevas. Smallwood Cuevas, aye. Wahab. Wahab, aye. That's 13-0.
13-0. That bill is out. Moving on to file item number 2, AB 458.
Valadares. Ashby. Ashby, aye. Dally. Hurtado. Hurtado, aye. Ochoa Bogue. Padilla. Padilla, aye. Smallwood Cuevas. Smallwood Cuevas, aye. That's 11.
11-0. That bill is out. Moving on to item number 5, AB 1578. Jackson.
Valadares. AB 1578. Valadares, no. Alvarado Gil. Ashby. Ashby, aye. Hurtado. Hurtado, aye. Padilla. Padilla, aye. Smallwood Cuevas. Smallwood Cuevas, aye. Wahab. Wahab, aye. 11-3.
That bill is 11-3. Moving on to, for the record, item number 6, AB 1585. Connolly was pulled at the author's request, so we will not be voting for that. Moving on to item number 8, AB 1754. Pacheco.
Absent members Valadares. Valadares, aye. Alvarado Gil. Ashby. Ashby, aye. Hurtado. Hurtado, aye. Padilla. Padilla, aye. Smallwood Cuevas. Smallwood Cuevas, aye.
Is that okay?
14.
14-0. Moving on to item number 9, AB 1807 by Assemblymember Gabriel. Oh, that one is closed. We're moving on to
7-3.
that bill, item 9, AB 1807, that had 7-3. That bill is out. Moving to item number 10, AB 1841, Ramos. Please call the roll.
Absent members Valadares. Valadares, aye. Alvarado Gil. Ashby.
Aye.
Ashby, aye. Hurtado. Hurtado, aye. Padilla. Padilla, aye. Smallwood Cuevas. Smallwood Cuevas, aye. 14.
That bill has 14-0. That bill's out. Moving on to item 11, AB 2115 by Assemblymember Ramos. Wait.
Sorry, my bad. I think the one that was closed was 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
We're moving on back to item number 9. That was skipped. AB 1807. Assemblymember Gabriel, please call the roll.
Absent members Alvarado Gil, Ashby. Aye. Ashby, aye. Hurtado. Hurtado, aye. Richardson. Wahab. Wahab, aye. 10-3.
That bill's 10-3. That bill's out. We're moving on to file item number 14, AB 1991, Aguirre Curry.
What about 11? 11.
Sorry. Yes, file number 11, AB 2115 by Assemblymember Ramos.
Absent members Valadares. Aye. Valadares, aye. Alvarado Gil, Ashby. Aye. Ashby, aye. Hurtado. Hurtado, aye. Padilla. Padilla, aye. Smallwood Cuevas. Smallwood Cuevas, aye. That's 14.
That bill is 14-0. That bill is out. Moving on to this one. Item number 14, AB 1991, Aguirre Curry.
Absent members Valadares. Aye. Valadares, aye. Alvarado Gil. Ashby. Aye. Ashby, aye. Hurtado. Hurtado, aye. Padilla. Padilla, aye. Richardson. 13-0.
That one's 13-0. We're moving on to our last bill. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Yes, last bill. Item number 16, AB 2211 by Assemblymember Hoover.
Absent members Valadares. Aye. Valadares, aye. Alvarado Gil. Ashby. Aye. Ashby, aye. Hurtado. Hurtado. Aye. Hurtado, aye. Padilla. Padilla. Padilla, aye. Smallwood Cuevas. Smallwood Cuevas, aye. 14.
That bill has 14-0. That bill is out, and that concludes today's committee. Thank you, everyone who participated and joined us, and this meeting is adjourned.
Senator Ashby,
Are you guys like they're looking for us in coffee?
Yeah,
Send them a note that all 6 of us.